Hello and welcome to The Beat, a news and talk program brought to you by the Center for Community Media at Worcester State University. I'm your host, Emond Asiamah, and today we will be interviewing Joanne Jaber Gauvin of the Urban Action Institute. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
What's your position at Worcester State and your title?
Sure. So my position is the Assistant Director of the Urban Action Institute. And basically what I do is I'm part of the Urban Studies Department, and I work within the Urban Action Institute to get students out into the community to help them develop their skills in advocacy and help solve community problems through different programs. So we have practicums and programs and conferences and different ways that we get our students out into the community to do that.
Okay. On the Worcester State website, it states the Urban Action Institute is the outreach and community action arm for Worcester State University's Urban Studies Department. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so because we're part of the Urban Studies Department, we work with students to get them out to the community. So if you're an urban studies major, basically kind of a quick way of describing that major, it's an interdisciplinary major, which means that multiple factors go into that study. So for example, some of the faculty that we have in the department are historians or cultural anthropologists or just to have different backgrounds, so they bring that to the study. And the study of urban studies is basically the city and its people, like what's going on in the city, how can we best serve the city, and how can we best serve its people. And so the Urban Action Institute really works to get our students out into the community, solve those community problems with community members. And because we're situated in the Urban Studies Department, we have this great resource of different faculty that we can draw upon. And then another piece of the Urban Studies Department is City Lab, which is a research institute. So our students could technically do research and then come to the Urban Action Institute, do the outreach and the community aspect part of it, and then learn about it in their classes. So it's really like a threefold piece. However, with that being said, many of the students that work in the Urban Action Institute or participate in the Urban Action Institute are not urban studies majors, because it's interdisciplinary, so they're coming from different parts.
Right. That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about the community garden and its partnerships with other local organizations?
Sure. So it's the Worcester State Teaching Garden, and it is part of our campus. So I don't know if you've ever been out there, but it's right across from the Gauche Science and Technology building, right next to Chandler Magnet Elementary School. And it's about a 1/4 acre lot, and we use sustainable methods in the garden. We have a garden program manager, his name is Howard, runs the garden, makes sure everything is nice, and kind of figures out what we want to grow in there, how we want to maintain it, and he also helps lead the practicum, one of the garden practicums that we have out there. So we partner with Chandler Magnet Elementary School, and they come out in their classes, and then we have a practicum with Worcester State students, so the Worcester State students come out too. So we have about anywhere between 5 and 15 Worcester State students, and then maybe up to a class of 30 or 2 classes of up to 45 of Chandler Magnet at the same time. And they break up into different groups and do different things. Sometimes they're sifting soil, sometimes they're making leaves, sometimes they're planting, sometimes they're doing taste tests, and they're all learning and growing together. So the students are learning about sustainable living, and when I mean students, I mean Worcester State students and Chandler Magnet students. And about healthier ways to eat and where our food comes from. So one great example would be, do you know what okra is? It's like you do? Okay. Yeah. Have you ever seen okra grow?
No, I never.
Neither have I until this past summer, and it is one of the most prettiest plants. It looks like this bamboo thing, and it's got purple and white flowers, and some students might have a similar reaction to to seeing a tomato grow, because maybe they've only seen tomatoes at the grocery store, and they didn't know that it had a great green vine, or that they look or some of them are pear-shaped and yellow, and some are orange, or we even have these zebra tomatoes that are half purple and half green that are out there. So we really try to grow a different variety of produce, fruits, and vegetables that both our Worcester State students and Chandler Magnet students can relate to. And then I think you also asked like what other community partners we work with.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to really do a good job maintaining our garden, we need to have other peers in the city that also have gardens. And one of the biggest groups that we work with is REC, the Regional Environmental Council. So we are one of their gardens, like we've registered with them, so we get compost and seedlings and like advice, and sometimes they bring out people to help us. Just a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, we had REC come out and help us. We bought a hoop house, which is, do you know what a hoop house is? It's kind of like a greenhouse, but a little bit more temporary in the sense that it's shaped in a hoop, and instead of glass, it's like thick plastic that goes over it. And we just had no idea how to put the plastic on, so we put the hoop house, we've assembled it, it's been assembled for a while, and we just didn't know how, and it's not something that like our garden, it's not something you do often. Mm-hmm. And luckily for us, REC had a member that they worked with that's done, like put together like 5 or 6 of these. So he came out and they brought some people over and like really helped us stretch the plastic and put it on. And it was, he had some, tips on how to best do it, which we had no clue what we were doing. So that was really great to have that type of resource. Yeah. And in the summertime when we don't have the practicum running, or the spring, because it's snowing out. So in the summer when we start our growing season, we still work with Chandler Magnet because their school year goes until June, even though we work with Worcester State students, but more in terms of hiring them rather than doing a practicum. So we have about 4 or 5 Worcester State students that we hire every summer to be garden assistants to run the practicum and then water, weed, and maintain the garden all summer long.
That's great.
Yeah.
How does the Urban Action Institute facilitate the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program?
Sure. So the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, it's better known as SNAP, or more commonly known as food stamps. And it's really important to have this service on campus because a lot of our students are facing hunger. We have 1 in 3 of our Worcester State students are hungry. And we have our practicum, our SNAP practicum actually, that oversees and runs this. So we have it's an on-campus practicum. Usually there are anywhere between 8 and 15 or 16 students signed up for the practicum. And at the beginning of the semester, we train them. We have Gina Platanino come. She's from the Central West Justice Coalition, and she's an attorney. And her job is to advocate for those who their SNAP benefits got, cut or whatever. So she's very familiar with the way the SNAP program works and how to apply for it. So she'll come in and do a training for our students. And then our students staff the SNAP office, which is located in the Urban Studies Department, so 129 Suite in the Sullivan Building. And so anyone can come in and we'll happy to assist them with applying for SNAP. A lot of what we do is recertification. So when you do apply for SNAP, I think every 6 months or so, they have to be, SNAP, the DTA will say, is everything okay? It's all the same? Like nothing's changed? Like you haven't lost a job or you haven't got another job? And so they have to go through the recertification piece, and that can kind of get complicated. So that's how it works. But it's really what we do more around it is advocating about what it is, where they can apply. So we have different people throughout campus trained in it, and then they do a lot of different outreach. So sometimes they'll set up tables in the Sullivan T to let people know that this is a service on campus. And then we actually created some pocket guides and some flyers this year that kind of packaged a lot of these services that students might need in a nice way. In the pocket guide, it looks like the size of a business card, so it's meant to be like concealing, right? So like, oh, I know that you're struggling. There's some information here that might help you without being like, oh, you should go to the SNAP office, right? So
well, that's great that support's available for those people,
right?
Will you describe the various practica experiences that Worcester State students can enroll in through the Urban Action Institute?
Sure. So we've already talked about 2 of them. So there's the garden, and that's the practicum where they work with the Chandler Magnet students, and that one's only run in the fall semester. And then the SNAP practicum, which is the one we just completed talking about, which runs every semester. And then that has a little bit more to it. So there is the SNAP piece, but then there's the advocacy piece on food and food insecurity in general. So actually this week, so if you don't have any lunch plans on Thursday, the SNAP practicum is hosting their annual Empty Bowls event. And it's a fundraiser for Tayas Pantry, which is a food pantry on campus, the Worcester County Food Bank, and Chandler Magnet's pantry. They have a pantry. They actually started it before we did. So that all the 100% of the proceeds go to them. So they work on soliciting donations for raffle prizes, coordinating like what the event and feel is going to be like, making and baking desserts for the event, manning the event. They went through student government and student senate to ask for support financially and support like running the event. So we were able to get $350 from Senate to buy desserts and put on a really fun fundraiser. So that's some of the other things that they do. They also helped out this semester. Well, actually, in the spring, they helped get the Swipe It Forward campaign onto campus. So students that have a meal plan, they can donate guest swipes for other students who might be in need. So they negotiated with Chartwells all last semester on advocating for this need on campus, and then this semester, how we worked it out with Chartwells is that we would have about a week at the beginning of the semester to collect donations, and we can only collect up to 300 donations. And we were able to get that in 2 nights, like 2 different meals. And so we got all 300, and now students can go to Tayas Pantry and get 7 meals at a time. And eat in the pod, and and that helps kind of alleviate some of the stigma that goes with it.
For sure.
So those are the 2 that we talked about, and they do a lot, right? And then we have another 2 great ones. So it was a youth leadership practicum, and this is fairly new, maybe 2 years now new. And our community partner is ACE, which is the African Community Education Center. And the purpose of this is to really put our students in a mentoring position. So they go to ACE's after school program on Thursdays from 3 to 5, and they work with these students with their homework and in mentoring them. And it goes really a long way, because I think sometimes when you think about what the image is of a college student and the reality of what a college student is, it's very different. So when you have a middle school child who's struggling in their academics and might not feel like they will ever get to college, and then a college student comes in and mentors them and then like breaks down like what college really is and makes it more real, then it's easier to kind of see yourself in that perspective. So ACE, basically Worcester is a gateway city, which means that a lot of it's designated for refugees to come in. And so we have a lot of refugees and new Americans in Worcester, and ACE primarily focuses on Africans. And so they help them to, they have after school program Monday through Thursday, and then a Saturday family program, an all-day family program. And so they're really helping these students get to build up on their education. So a lot of them had gaps in their education, or stops, or whatever it is from the different transitions that they've had, and they really need to get caught up. And so this is a really great way to do that. And it's also a nice way to have like a college student, that's supportive and caring and kind, but also a role model come in and help out.
Right.
And there's actually one more, I know, I'm sorry. So the last one is our ELL practicum. And again, because Worcester is a gateway city, we have a lot of new Americans needing to learn English. So we have 2 different ones this semester, but every year they're all the same, but we work with different partnerships. So it depends on who we're working with. And there's always one that is a community-based one that is open to everybody. So that one is on Thursdays this semester at 1 o'clock. So anybody from the community can come to Worcester. They don't have to be connected with any organization, and do conversational ELL classes with a Worcester State student. So it's one-on-one. There is an ELL instructor that kind of guides the teaching, but it's nice because it's one-on-one, and it really is based on conversation. It's important for these new English learners to listen and to hear how we say different things and our accents. And then we have another one that we're working with the Latino Education Institute this year, and that is a more formal setting of classes, and our students go in and act more like a teacher's aide, but they're still going in to help individuals learn English.
That's great. What is the older student registration program and how does it work?
Sure. So there's a state law in Massachusetts that basically says that anybody that's 60 years or older can take classes at a state institution for tuition free. So if you ever looked at your bill, you see there's tuition here and then there's fees here. Usually fees are more expensive. So Worcester State, a long time ago now, probably when the fees were less than the tuition, decided to waive the fees for older students. So older students can come to Worcester State and take a class basically for free. They have to pay for the cost of materials, so books or painting supplies or anything like that. And it's based on space availability. So unlike when you register for your classes, you register like now, right, November. Our older students won't register for spring classes until the Thursday before classes start. So it's based on space availability, and they have to register in person. So what the UAI does is we offer an orientation for those older students to make the process a little bit easier, even though you might think that, and they might have, older students come with a range of backgrounds. Some of them have PhDs, some of them have double masters, some of them, this is their first time ever entering a college and they don't have a college degree. So we have definitely an array of students, and all of them have different needs, but you can imagine that they're still nervous coming in, just like a traditional freshman would be, or a first year student. And so we do an orientation for them to kind of alleviate that. We'll answer their questions. I have volunteers, traditional age students and elder students. We have a computer lab set up so they can browse WebAdvisor and look. And then the registrar kind of helps take over, and they'll go to the registrar. There's a little line that forms in front of the registrar's office. But we have about 100 students come on that day, which is really surprising. And people really hear about this program through word of mouth, right? And some of the most popular classes are history classes and painting classes and language classes. But some of my favorite older students to work with are the ones that are actually coming back for their first degree. So it's just a soft place in my heart for them. And I've had a couple. I've had 2 or 3 now who've completed their degree, graduated, and keep coming back. And, you know, yeah, it's really cool because sometimes, you know, the older generation, they could find jobs, right? You didn't need a college degree so much back then, and some of them, it was something that they wanted to do but never got to do because they had kids, and they started taking care of their kids, and life got in the way, and now they're coming back and kind of accomplishing their dream, which is inspiring.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What other ways can members of the community become more involved with the Urban Action Institute?
Yes, so our students are involved with the Urban Action Institute in many ways. Especially our work study, our graduate assistants, they're involved in pretty much every single program that we run and work on. But each year, other than our practicums, we also focus on some programming and events like this. For example, just already this semester, we hosted a hunger rally, and it was with a bunch of community partners. So we worked with all of the Worcester colleges, so Mass Pharmacy, Quinsigamond Community College, Clark, Becker, all of them kind of participated in planning this event. Food Policy Council and then the Worcester Food Bank helped plan this event. And it was just basically a community event to let people know about college hunger. So we had like a tent and a couch with some signs. You know, one of them said like, it's not a sleepover if you can't go home, right? If you don't go home, like on the couch, and then it said couch surfing is homelessness. And then in the tent we had like a sign that said, you know, this is that, you know, do you have to worry about like street harm and things like that? So like just trying to bring light to the issue of homelessness and hunger. And we had different people speak. We had a couple students from Quinsigamond Community College and a couple students from Worcester State. And then we had a professor from UMass Medical School come talk about the effects of hunger on your education. So it was really great. It was a good event to just kind of kick off the year with. And we also are in the middle of planning a conference for the spring semester around new Americans and immigrants and how like Worcester can welcome them better as a city and what we can do to kind of create a more inviting and welcoming environment for them, and you know, between like the politicians and the business owners and the schools and all of that, like we can kind of come together as a community and do that a little bit better.
And what is something that people do not know about the Urban Action Institute that you'd like to share with our viewers?
One thing that doesn't always stand out and is pretty new for the Urban Action Institute is we really played a key role in helping Tayas Pantry start on campus. And we don't want to take credit for it, but it was definitely students that came to us, and the link that and the reason why they came to us because of the SNAP practicum, right? So they already saw that we were doing work on hunger and getting students assistance, and they came to us and said, well, we need a pantry on campus. Like, how do we do this? And it was a 2-year process. We did some research, we surveyed the students, we went to other campuses and looked at their pantries, all with students involved. So we worked with Enactus students from the Urban Studies Club, a graduate student, another student that was just very like go-getter, like, you know, she was the one that kind of like really pushed us to start the work. And now we're really happy to say that Tayas Pantry is almost at its 1-year mark. So in February, it'll be a year that it's been open. And we just we have a partnership with the Worcester County Food Bank, so we're considered one of their partner pantries, and because of that, we can go and get food at a well, it's basically free, but you pay like a maintenance fee for the food. So we were able to get 1,000 pounds of food the other day for $12. I know, it's amazing. So and we're able to feed so many students with that. And Tayas Pantry is on the 3rd floor in the student center, right next to Student Affairs office. And Student Affairs office was the other like huge co-sponsor in like pushing this to happen. If it wasn't for the Student Affairs office, we wouldn't have had a space, and that was really hard to get. And like just helping us manage the pantry moving forward. So, yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure having you, and thank you for giving us all the information on
definitely.
That.
It was so nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this segment of The Beat. Please remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. We'll see you next time.